So let's begin. So before reading the shloka today, let's take the blessing from our ISKCON Shishatripuram deities. Jai Jagannath Baldev Shodhamai ki jai. गौर निताई की जय, पंचतत्व की जय, गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय. Let's do the prayer. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाजनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपिष्टाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनी इति नामिनि नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणि. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्तविंदा. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे. So we are continuing with the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation, and today we are doing shlok number 61. So we have seen that in previous verse 59-60 that we work as per our nature. That is also mentioned in previous verse 59 and 60. So it is mentioned that material nature will engage you. You cannot give up your nature. So in our main shlokas, we have described this in very detail that we are under the grip of material nature, and because of which we have certain qualities, and we cannot give up these qualities so easily. And Bhagavad Gita is telling us to go above these qualities or three modes of nature. And in this verse, Krishna is telling to all the living entities that this living entity and nature is controlled by Lord, Supreme Lord itself. So I think that we are going to hear today. So not only living entity, but also this nature is controlled by Supreme Lord. And in next verse, Krishna will therefore tell to surrender to Supreme Lord. See, when Supreme Lord is the main source, he is controlling everything, then we cannot, think of doing anything ourselves alone, right? And we have to surrender. And when you surrender, then only you will attain the auspiciousness. So that is very simple thing. So now in this shloka, Krishna explains, if everyone has nature and we act according to our nature, then the question is the nature supreme? So the answer is no, right? So Krishna mentions that above nature there is Ishwar, which is Supreme Lord. So let's see this. Let's see this shloka. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hidadesha arjuna tishtati brahmayena sarvabhutani yantra arudhani mayaya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made up of material nature. So Ishvara Sarva Bhutana. So Ishvara is Supreme Lord, the controller of all the controller. And Sarva Bhutanam, it is situated in all living beings. So Krishna is clearly telling this to Arjuna that Ishvara, the Lord is actually Ishvara. Ishvara means he is the supreme Lord and he is the controller of all the controllers. Whatever we may think is the controller, above that, Ishvara is there, which is Supreme Lord. So Ishvara Sarva Bhutana. Sarva Bhutana means all the living entities. So where actually he is situated? That is mentioned in the next line. Where exactly he is situated? Hide Desha Arjuna Tishtati. Hide Desha means in the region of heart. So Lord is situated not in the heart, but in the region of the heart. Similarly, the soul is situated not only in the heart, but the region of heart. So this thing we have to understand. Now the soul and super soul is seated in the region of heart next to each other. So we always say na, ki every person have a Paramatma inside. And whenever we do someone namaskara, actually what we are doing namaskar to the super soul inside that person. That is why it says we should never tell wrong to anybody, because when we are interacting with somebody with our emotions, we have to understand this, that person or that soul also have the super soul next to with his soul, because both are seated in the region of the heart next to each other. And then the next line, if we see Brahmayana Sarva Bhutani. What is Brahmaya? Brahmayan is wandering. People, the entities or living entities are wandering, right? So all the living entities are actually wandering in the existence. So why we say this as wandering? Because see, if you are traveling somewhere, you have a destination. You have a goal, you have a destination. That means you have a purpose. So when you are traveling, a traveler has a purpose, but the wandering is aimless. So Lord is clearly telling that all these living entities are actually wandering and is aimless, because if you don't have this, if you have the aim of material things, then you cannot say that you are not wandering. But now the question comes is how they are wandering. How they are wandering. So that is again mentioned in the next line, Yantra Arudhani Mamaya. So that means this living entity is situated on a yantra, which is made up of matter. And we have learned this, what is matter? Matter is nothing but created by nature only, right? So this yantra actually refer to our body. Yantra is nothing but our body. Our body is called as yantra. But normally people mistake that ki my identity is my body itself. But actually body is nothing but yantra. Yantra is nothing but, so body is like a machine, correct? Why it is a machine? Because see, if you see a machine or yantra in itself is not having any conscious, isn't it? It by itself does not have any conscious. So if you see even a machine, so always compare your body with a machine. Like if you take a machine Let's say example of a washing machine. So this washing machine have some function, right? It have some buttons that have some function. So that function may be, uh, washing some hard cloths or soft cloths or silk cloths. So these are some of the function. And it works according to some laws. Laws are nothing but the buttons, right? And so that when you compare with the body is not alone. It has a soul. Body is having a soul. Without soul, the body is useless. But if you see in the medical science, they say when the brain is dead, then the body is dead. So we have to understand actually how the things are. So body is not alone. Body has a soul which affect the function of the body. Body by itself cannot function. So it is very clear the soul will affect the function of the body. So this body is yantra and soul is using this yantra. And soul is having the consciousness. Soul is having the consciousness. As the soul is having this consciousness, this functions our actually the body. And how it actually affects, how the soul affects the function of the body, it is actually through the desire. So when the soul desire, then the functioning of the body happens. So there are many examples we can take, and one of the example is mentioned as the virtual reality. Nowadays, if you see, lot of talks are going on, lot of enterprise, or you take Microsoft or any big companies, they are talking about virtual reality, VR. So it just came out of, even if you see the video game is also a virtual reality. So there is a person who actually has invented this, right? So let's say some person has invented a video game. So we can think of it as a God. So in real life, God has invented everything. So similarly, in virtual reality of a video game, if you see, the person who has invented this video game, he is like a God. And a person who plays that video game, try to understand this. The person who is invented is a God, and the person who is playing that video game is like a soul. And he identifies through a mechanism some character in the video game as himself. That character can be, let's say, uh, you know, a car or a police, thief, anything, right? The mechanism is also provided by the inventor itself. The person who is developing this video game, he only is actually making up this character. So in real life, God has make up all this character. We entities, whatever we are seeing in this creature, the inventor is God. So he has this mechanism of inventing all this. So similarly, in video game, let's say the characters are provided by the inventor. So now, depending on our nature and the mode we have given some position in the game, suddenly thief cannot become a police or police cannot become a thief, isn't it? So like that, our nature is not a coincidence. So Lord has given us some nature, and based on that nature, we are actually acting. So according to our Varna, we have read this multiple shlokas, right? Varna. Rajogun, Tamogun, Satogun. Those are Varnas. So according to our Varnas, we are acting. So if we act properly as per our Varna, we become purified. And this whole system is supervised. This whole system is supervised by whom? Nothing other than the Supreme Lord. Because he has done the whole setup. And he is directing the wandering of every entity. So this word Brahmayan indicates that Lord is the supervisor. And earlier lines we have discussed this, that the soul is the desirer. Soul desires, and then what happens? So every desire is actually evolving from the soul, and the Lord is the sanctioner. He actually approves. And who actually execute? Material nature is the executor. So sometime back, a neuroscientist, he has done some experiment where he actually activate some part of the brain and tell to move the hand. So the hands are also moved up and down, but when the doctor asked that person whether you have raised the hand, the person said no, because his brain was deactivated. So doing all these experiments, he tried many permutation and combination, activating left brain, right brain, and try to give the instruction to the body. But the final conclusion, the scientist has concluded that although the brain is like a computer, you can think our brain is like a computer, but the activator is different. He is somewhere outside. So from the science also, they can conclude this. The brain is like a computer, but the activator is different. And he is somewhere outside. So from all this, we can conclude that the desire, who is the desirer? Soul is the desirer. Who is the sanctioner? God is the sanctioner. And who is the executor? That is the body. In this case, the hand raise, right? The executor is the hand raise. So the science tells our this nervous system raises the hand, but that is just the execution part only. But before this execution happen, there are two more parts. What is those two parts? One is the desiring part and the sanctioning part. That is why Lord sanctions the desire and provide the facility to the soul as per his desire. After which he can actually effort to do the things. So if you see the Lord Krishna is providing the overall framework, and within that framework only living entity is actually working. So that is why it is said that different living entities work in different ways, because every entity have a different desire. So the living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what is mentioned in the purport by Prabhupada. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender. And that is the order of next verse also. So that we'll see in the next shloka in more detail tomorrow. So we have covered this shloka. If anything, any suggestion or addition, please ask freely. Yeah. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.